Senator, thank you very much for joining us on this important night. The president, in effect, has given Congress a challenge today. It's up to you to save these dreamers. Do you think there's a bipartisan possibility of getting a DREAM Act passed in the next 6 months?
I do, Lawrence. I'm co-sponsoring a bill with Senator Graham and others, and I think that there is leadership on the Republican side of the aisle to get this done because, you know, frankly, it's just the right thing to do, and I think that we have got to realize that we have as many as 800,000 young people in our country right now who have only known one home, and this is it. They are contributing to our economy. They are serving in our military, and we need to do the right thing for these kids. Not to mention the fact that when they first applied for DACA, we told them we would not share their personal information with ICE. And we got, you know, our country has to keep our promise to these young people. And so the leaders in Congress, and I'll speak for the Senate side, you know, we're going to have to lead by example. And if we expect and want the young people of our country to live responsibly and to follow the rules and play by the rules, then we should too.
California has the largest number of dreamers. Some estimates 220,000. So it is the single biggest home in the United States to these people. And California is not one of the states whose Attorney General is trying to sue to end DACA. What is it that California knows about this program? What is it in your experience as a former California Attorney General? What would you tell the other states, especially the ones like Texas and the other states that are suing to stop DACA? What would you tell them about this program that you feel California knows that they don't?
It's a wonderful question you're asking, because the one thing, Lawrence, that I've become really aware of is there are a lot of people expressing opinions about DACA that have never met a dreamer. And what I know, being from the state that has the largest number, 220,000, these are great kids. I met a young woman this weekend. She came up to me and she, asked for support, but then she just broke down crying uncontrollably because she's terrified, Lawrence. And this is a great kid. She is part of she's actually part of doing free arts for kids in the community and helping out and being a part of her community. And she was crying uncontrollably. She's so afraid. So I think part of what has to happen is that more people really should inform themselves about who these young people really are and stop demonizing them. It's very easy to have an opinion about something you don't know, but it's also it's irresponsible. And so I think the more stories that we can tell about the young people that I meet every day in California, who again are in our colleges, they're in our law schools, they've started small businesses, they are serving in our military, they're working in Fortune 100 companies. I think the more those stories are known, the more people will realize that passing the DREAM Act is just the right thing to do.
The president was reportedly torn about this. That's the word that we see in kind of backstage reporting at the White House. And he seems to have satisfied no one. The dreamers who he's given kind of a 6-month window to hope for a new legislative solution can't be satisfied. There's a real threat to them in what happened today. And then those hardcore Trump supporters who want to see busloads of these kids deported immediately, they can take no satisfaction in what happened today. It seems like the president couldn't find his way out of the political corner he painted himself into.
Well, you know, listen, from the beginning, I think the president has been clear about where he is on this and other issues related to immigration. I serve on many committees in the Senate, including Homeland Security Committee, and we review the president's nominee to be Secretary of DHS, who is now the Chief of Staff, John Kelly. And I asked him in an open hearing, would he commit to keep America's promise to these kids and not share their personal information with ICE? And he refused to make that commitment. And this was many, many months ago. So I'm not surprised that we're in this situation. But I do believe that my colleagues in the United States Senate can do the right thing. I believe there is a will to do the right thing. But in terms of the demonization of these young people, these dreamers, there's so much that is just a misrepresentation of fact. Just really just outright untruths. So, for example, Lawrence, it is well documented that if we get rid of DACA and do not pass DACA statutorily, that we will lose 700,000 jobs in the United States. It is well documented that over the next 10 years, if we rescind DACA without replacing it, we will lose $60 billion in tax dollars. So there is real economic benefit to allowing these young people who've only known this as their home to be able to work, to be able to contribute to our economy, and to be able to contribute to our society.
The president seems to have the opposite view of how it affects jobs. He said today in his written statement, we must also have heart and compassion for unemployed, struggling, and forgotten Americans.
That is a false choice. There is no question that we need to take care of hardworking Americans who want to work, many of whom lost their jobs during the Great Recession, and they need a pathway to finding meaningful employment, and we can do a much better job of helping them do that. And we can help these young people who are called dreamers, who are also contributing to the economy and helping to uplift the economy. It's a false choice to say it's one over the other, and it's really irresponsible to suggest to hardworking Americans that the only thing preventing them from getting a job are these dreamers. What needs to happen is we need to do a much better job to actually get employment and paths to employment for Americans who want to work.
Senator, it seems Attorney General Jeff Sessions has a different definition of compassionate than you do. Let's listen to what he said today.
Okay.
The compassionate thing to do is end the lawlessness, enforce our laws, and if Congress chooses to make changes to those laws, to do so through the process set forth by our founders in a way that advances the interests of the American people.
Senator, that's what Jeff Sessions says is the compassionate thing to do.
Again, we've got to stop vilifying this population, and as a leader, you got to stop pulling out the boogeyman. These young people, let's be very clear, they qualify for DACA because they cleared a vetting where there was a very, very intense process of looking into their backgrounds. Like, let's everybody be clear about who these DACA kids are. In order for them to qualify for DACA, they had to answer a lot of questions, and there was basically an investigative process that took place to determine the circumstances of their arrival, to determine, are they living a lawful life? Have they ever committed a crime? Are they productive? And only when they cleared that vet did they receive DACA status. So, yes, we want to make sure. We don't want people who are committing crimes in our country to be here if they're undocumented. But we also have to understand that when we're talking about these kids who are in DACA, they have cleared a vetting process. So for the Attorney General to suggest that they are other than lawful in terms of, in particular, committing crimes is just, it's irresponsible.